Aloha, and welcome to the 7th module of the Eyes of the Reef Network online training program. Thanks for being here and for taking the time to learn more about how you can help protect Hawaii's coral reefs. The 7th module of this training will bring together everything that you've learned so far. You'll use your new skills to identify actual coral health conditions by asking a series of specific questions. If you have questions during this module, please reach out to your local island coordinator. Free training materials are available for you or your class, including underwater guides and training booklets. Please reach out to your local island coordinator to find your nearest pickup location. Contact information can be found on our website at eorhawaii.org/contact us. In this module, you will learn how to recognize and distinguish between coral health conditions. Many of the coral conditions covered in this training look similar. This module will point out key traits of each condition type and allow you to test your new identification skills with real-world examples. You will also learn when to report certain conditions to the Eyes of the Reef network. You've seen many different coral health conditions throughout this training, and many of them can look similar, especially when you're trying to identify a condition underwater. We recommend that you use the following line of questioning as you work to identify different coral health conditions. First, you'll need to identify what type of coral you're seeing. Coral type is required for all submitted reports. Next, you'll need to determine if there's a problem or health condition affecting the coral. The main questions to ask yourself when identifying a coral health condition are 1. Is there a change in coral color? 2. Are there growths or protuberances on the coral colony? And 3. If a coral is white, are there coral polyps or tentacles present? Or can you see bare skeleton? We'll refer back to this line of questioning frequently throughout this module. Let's go through an example scenario. In scenario 1, you come across an area of coral appearing white, similar to this image. Upon close observation, you can see visible tentacles and live coral tissue. What do these signs indicate? If your answer was coral bleaching, you are correct. These are all signs of coral bleaching. Coral bleaching can be identified as pale, partially white, or completely white coral colonies with coral polyps or tentacles present upon close observation. Bleaching can affect all types of coral and is usually most severe in the late fall season when water temperatures are at their highest. In scenario 2, you come across a coral that is mostly white, and upon close observation, you can see bare skeleton on the colony. From there, you have 3 additional questions to ask. 1. Are there signs of coral disease? 2. Are there crown of thorns sea star predation signs? Or 3. Are there fish or snail predation signs? In this case, you see a round pattern of coral loss across a small branching colony, which is a preferred coral food of the crown of thorns sea star, also known as cots. You also see 1 large crown of thorns sea star in the area. When observing this colony up close, you notice live tissue in hard-to-reach areas between the branches. What do these signs indicate? You are likely seeing crown of thorns sea star predation. If that's what you reported, you are correct. In cases of crown of thorns sea star predation on corals, you may observe several distinct characteristics. Crown of thorns sea stars prefer small branching, rice, or corrugated corals, so most often predation will occur on these coral types. After predation, the coral skeleton is bare and white, often with leftover coral tissue remaining in hard-to-reach areas, like between coral branches. The scar where predation occurred will be round, similar to the shape of a crown-of-thorns sea star body. Crown-of-thorns sea star predation can look similar to disease, and the best way to tell the difference is to look at algal growth. Remember that coral disease will have a distinct progression of algal growth depending on the rate of spread of the disease. Following crown-of-thorns sea star predation, if algae is present, it will be evenly distributed across the coral skeleton. As a final clue, you may see live crown-of-thorns sea stars in the area, sometimes consuming nearby corals. In scenario 3, you come across corals that are white, and upon close observation, you can see bare skeleton on the coral. Similar to the last scenario, the selection of bare skeleton leads to 3 follow-up questions. 1. Are there signs of coral disease? 2. Are there COTS predation signs? Or 3. Are there fish or snail predation signs? In this case, you see a progression from healthy coral to a line of irritation and mucus bordering bare skeleton. Areas of bare skeleton distant from the line of irritation have some progressive algal growth. What do these signs indicate? If you answered coral disease, you are correct. Remember that progressive tissue loss types of coral disease lesions can be identified by looking for a leading edge of disease next to bare, white coral skeleton. As the disease advances, algae begins to grow on the exposed skeleton within several days. So often algal turf is visible where the disease has already passed. Where the disease is actively advancing along a colony, the coral tissue might be pink or white, and coral mucus might also be visible around the leading edge. Sometimes an obvious dark band is also present in cases of disease. What about bare skeleton in the shape of small bite marks? In this case, you are likely seeing fish bites or fish predation on corals. Parrotfish, blennies, and filefish can leave a distinctive feeding scar as they take small bites of coral tissue. Small patches of bare coral skeleton without obvious signs of disease might also be predation from certain types of snails. In this case, you will be able to see the snails at the predation site or nearby in protected areas of the corals. Both fish and snail feeding scars typically heal on their own and do not need to be reported. What about these 2 corals in scenario 4? On smooth finger coral in the upper left, you see numerous tiny pink bumps, and on the corrugated coral in the lower left, you see patches of maroon red within the coral tissue. What do these signs indicate? If you answered discoloration diseases, you are correct. Discoloration diseases cause distinct discolored areas on a coral colony, including either pink bumps or purple or dark red colony sections. These diseases are considered less serious and should only be reported to the Eyes of the Reef Network if very severe cases are observed. In this final scenario, you come across the coral in the upper left. You see obvious growths on a smooth mounding coral with unique texture and color on the growths. What do these signs indicate? If you said coral growth anomalies, you are correct. Coral growth anomalies are irregularly shaped growths with unusual texture, enlarged calyces, and pale coloration. These growths are fairly common in some areas and generally do not cause extensive damage to coral. Therefore, you do not need to report coral growth anomalies unless you find an extremely severe case. Let's practice your new coral health condition identification skills. For the next 4 images, please name the coral type and the possible health condition present. Okay, first one, name the coral type and the health condition you think you're seeing in this image. If you said small branching coral and the health condition being the crown of thorns sea star predation, you're correct. Okay, what about this one? What is the coral type and what is the health condition? In this case, the coral type is rice coral and the health condition is coral growth anomalies. Okay, what about this colony? What is the coral type and the health condition? If you said rice coral and progressive tissue loss disease, you're correct. Okay, what about this colony? What is the coral type and what is the health condition? If you said small branching coral and the health condition as coral bleaching, you are correct. Great job! Identifying coral conditions is not easy and requires careful observation of the signs on a coral colony. Practicing at your local reef is really the best way to solidify your new skills. To learn more about coral health conditions, please visit our website at eorhawaii.org/education. This concludes Module 7 of the Eyes of the Reef online training program. Mahalo for your participation. Next, you will be required to successfully complete a short review quiz in order to move on to the next module. Okay, here we go with the quiz. Question 1, in the image below, what is the coral condition present? A is coral bleaching, B, snail predation, C, discoloration disease, D, progressive tissue loss, or E, none of the above. If you said A for coral bleaching, you're correct. Question 2. What is the most likely coral condition present in the image below? Is it A, coral tissue loss disease, B, fish predation, C, crown of thorns sea star predation, D, coral bleaching, or E, none of the above? So the key word here is most likely. Our key phrase is most likely. This is most likely crown of thorns sea star predation because of the shape of this lesion. You might also see crown of thorns sea stars in the area of this colony. Question 3. Which coral condition is present in the image below? Is it A, coral tissue loss disease, B, Paredes trematodiasis, a discoloration disease, C, crown of thorns sea star predation, D, fish predation, or E, none of the above? If you said B, Paredes trematodiasis, you are correct. Last question, which coral condition is present in the image below? Is it A, Paredes trematodiasis, B, crown of thorns sea star predation, C, fish predation, D, coral growth anomaly, or E, none of the above? If you said D, coral growth anomalies, you're correct. How did you do on the quiz? If you missed more than a few questions, you may want to go back and review the materials in this module before moving on to the final module. Mahalo for your participation in the Eyes of the Reef online training program. In the next and final module, you will learn how to complete and submit an Eyes of the Reef report.